Ladies and gentlemen, a word about Rami Malek. I'm not sold on this guy. Okay. The box office really wants him to do well. Hollywood, you can tell, wants him to do well. He had a hit TV show that I never watched, and people liked him on that show. He recently played the Bond villain in Daniel Craig's swan song of James Bond, No Time to Die. I did not think he was good in that at all. Okay. And now Hollywood has, let me expound on that just a little bit. Of all the villains that Bond has encountered in his many machinations, Malik was probably the lamest and weakest. I mean, he made Hugo Drax look threatening, okay, and that was probably one of the worst Bonds made, okay. So, he hasn't really done anything that I would say, ooh, but that hasn't stopped the powers that be in Tinseltown from taking him and giving him top billing and throwing him into an action film. And that is tonight's lesson plan. A cinematic class is about to begin, and your professor is in. Greetings, salutations, another sundry affair. I am your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth in movies. And as you could probably tell, tonight's lesson plan is a movie called The Amateur, and it comes from the folks at 20th Century Fox. Hey, there's a pretty decent cast in this movie. I mentioned in my teaser intro Rami Malek and how he hasn't really captured my imagination yet. Starring with him is Lawrence Fishburne, who has a nice juicy role in this movie as Robert Henderson. Rachel Brosnahan plays Ramey's wife. Ramey plays Charles Heller in this movie. He is a cryptologist for the CIA. Rachel Brosnahan is his wife, Sarah. She spends most of the movie as a ghost. You'll understand when you see it. Jonathan Bernthal is in this as Jackson O'Brien, also known as the Bear. He is an amazing a character that has a lot juicier role in the original novel. Uh, but unfortunately, that role is really diminished in this movie, and basically, he has an extended cameo. His character could have been used, believe me, an awful lot better. I think it would have been much, much better that way. And Holt McCallany is the CIA deputy director in this.
I want to face my wife's killers.
You can't do what I do no matter how much I train you. You're not a killer, Charlie.
You're just a slight little nerdy fella likes to work on computers. Charlie's not your typical CIA agent. He's not an action hero. He's the amateur.
He's really an intellectual and not a physical guy.
This is about a man who loses his wife in this horrible way, and that sets him on this journey to avenge her death.
I want to find and kill the people who murdered my wife.
Rami, being such a gifted actor, is bringing a whole kind of complexity and nuance to it that I don't think we've seen before.
Maybe y'all misjudge this individual?
I love these films. There are so many of this genre that I've always aspired to be a part of and never thought possible. So to put myself in a position where I thought I could pull it off as an amateur, I think that's quite relatable. We are all heroic to some degree. Do you ever account for the things I'm good at?
Basically, what is happening here? Well, Charlie's wife, Sarah, is killed in a terrorist attack. What Charlie discovers is that the terrorist attack is not being fully investigated by his bosses at the CIA or even the FBI. Why are they not investigating these things? So he takes it on his own to use his talent and computer skill, and he's able to find the 4 terrorists who perpetrated this attack. When he presents it to the powers that be in the CIA and the FBI, they accept it, but they don't seem to be willing to do anything about it. And as such, Charlie decides to take matters into his own hand. Now, these stories of the least likely person, the geek, the computer nerd, suddenly becoming an angel of vengeance has always captured the American audience, all the way back to when Dustin Hoffman did it in Straw Dogs. Remember Sam Peckinpah? That's how he kind of made a big splash on the screen, and really it made a star out of Dustin Hoffman, and still proves to be one of his better roles, that first starring role. And so there's an enamoring with especially American audiences. And can you imagine a corrupt FBI and CIA? Who would have thought that after the last 4 years, such a thing would actually be possible?
You surprised me, Charlie. I can't tell you how rare that is, but it ends here. There are no 3 volley salutes in this work. We're the John Does that get found in the dumpster if we get found, which you won't. I'm sorry.
Well, those were good lessons. You're a good teacher, Hendo.
I took that into account.
50-50 odds, right? Did you ever account for the things I was good at? Base charge on a timer.
So this is really the second incarnation, if you will, of The Amateur. The novel written by Robert Littell was first scheduled to be made into a movie back in 2006. And at that time, Hugh Jackman was set to star in this. Obviously, that one didn't come through. This one also had a bit of trouble attached to it, if you will. In the middle of it, the strike hit, the SAG-AFTRA strike hit, and production had to stop. And because of that, a couple of people got their hands involved in the script. So there was some bickering back and forth as to who would be credited with writing the screenplay. That was finally all sorted out. Money was divvied up in appropriate amounts to people, and everybody was then made happy. With Malick as the star in this, I might be okay with that, because I think Hugh Jackman might have been a little too polished to be playing the computer nerd. I know he did that already once with John Travolta, but this role really calls for someone who's a gorp, and I think you lose that with Jackman.
My wife was murdered. I want to go after Sarah's killers and kill them myself.
You might be the smartest person in the CIA, but you're just not a killer, Charlie. I can't make you into something that you're not.
You're just a little nerdy fellow, likes to work on computers.
In The Amateur, Charlie Heller is an unexpected hero who embarks on this quest for justice.
He's an underdog who takes on this journey because of the love he has for this person he's lost.
And along the way, meets a succession of rather wonderful characters.
Do precisely as I say, and there is a slight chance you may come out of this alive. I've been a fan of Rami's for a while, and these characters that we're playing, the relationship in terms of master-teacher, gives us an opportunity to really, really find some wonderful things to play together.
Take it! Aye, now!
Lawrence Fishburne provides a real presence, a real authority.
It's brilliant acting on the part of Lawrence. Same with John Bernthal and Rachel Brosnahan. And then you have Katrina, who brings this vulnerability, but at the same time, as tactically clever as Charlie.
I've got your man. Charlie, you should get out of there.
Just so many great performances that are so powerful.
When you see who all the players are in this film, it's really gifted actors with a fresh take on the world of intelligence.
He's playing us.
He practically invented half of our surveillance.
I was very aware that we had a great script. It would attract great actors, and they brought it. It was day in and day out, working with the best of the best.
Are you done? Have you had enough?
No, I want them all.
Okay, so for some of the folks here behind the screen, this movie was directed by James Hawes. The screenplay, which I had mentioned earlier, was finally settled on Ken Nolan and Gary Spinelli as the writers. The cinematographer was Martin Rule. He does a nice job in doing this. I got to tell you, though, there are a couple of scenes, especially the action scenes, where they used a technique that for many movies had disappeared, but now it seems to be coming back again. And that is the extremely close and tight shots of the fighting action. This was made very popular during the Matt Damon, Jason Bourne series, basically because Matt Damon can't fight, and it was pretty apparent on screen that he couldn't. So as a result, they resorted to this really close shot, fast editing, and it's in this movie as well, which that does not bode well because it just means the fight scenes weren't looking good, and they have to resort to this type of cinematography in order to give it some kind of credence. But in the meantime, you lose a lot of what's actually happening as far as the action is concerned. Jonathan Amos, we will strike a little bit of a problem with because he is the editor of the movie, and this movie is too long for this type of movie. Now, there's a caveat here, and let me throw that out. The novel has an awful lot of detail. Littell writes primarily spy novels about the CIA and Russia, and as a result, he has a lot of detail in this. He worked for Newsweek before. He was in the U.S. Navy for a while. So he has some extensive background in this type of thing. The problem is you can't fit everything in a novel into a movie. Everybody knows that, okay? So what you have to do is be judicious. You have to pick the scenes that really matter, and then you have to make sure you have a connecting or a segue scene that ties it all together in a seamless edit type of mode. This movie does not necessarily do that, okay? There are chops in this movie where you as a viewer can tell we've made leaps here, okay? And that's not good, okay? There are also big holes in this thing. For example, Charlie goes through a lot of scenarios and going after the 4 terrorists who killed his wife, who are responsible for his wife. Through all of these adventures, he is, thrown into a sea. He is, blown up, fired, shot at, all kind of crazy things happen. And yet in the next scene, he always seems to have enough money to purchase a hotel room, purchase equipment that he needs. And where is he getting? There's no kind of explanation to tell. And another big flaw in this movie, he has, and it is established in the beginning of the movie, a CI, a confidential informant that lets him know a lot of things. And this informant is insistent on being anonymous. And they play this little game where Charlie tries to guess where his informant is, and he never can quite do it. But yet, when Charlie gets in trouble and contacts the informant drops everything and is more than willing to help him. And that change of pace needed a little bit more smoothing out instead of it being so abrupt, if you will.
Henderson's headed your way. Go towards the stairwell.
Where is he now?
He's in the stairwell, 3 floors above. Head towards the basement. There's an exit in the back. Shit. There's another one, already in the basement. He's coming towards you.
Which way?
Left. Go left.
Where is he? The other one.
I don't know. I'm looking right now.
No! Stop! Stop! Stop!
So let me reiterate to you that while that's true, and while you have to take the novel and you have to shrink it down to, a decent length of a movie and make sure it's smooth. Our editor Amos just does not do that. In fact, he makes this movie way too long, and there are scenes easily that he could have sacrificed to make the transition scenes work and put those in, and he didn't, and that holds back against this. This movie goes over 2 hours, about 2 hours and 5 minutes, and truly, I keep preaching. A film like this should be 90 minutes, 100 minutes thereabouts, and no more. So it's too long, but at the same time, it doesn't put in these segments that you need to make it smooth. So it's not edited well.
¿Algún problema? Tell me where to find Horst Schiller.
Who are you?
You held a gun to my wife's head. She was terrified.
You have the wrong guy.
Yeah, I know. You didn't pull the trigger. So, tell me where to find him.
This is a joke, I don't get it.
It's not a joke. This is a remote that controls a device that's been decompressing the air between the sheets of glass beneath you. If I trigger it, the glass will shatter. So tell me where he is, or swim very fast.
You have the wrong person.
No. I have exactly the right person.
So basically, how do we wrap this up? Well, you had decent source material, and you were working on an above average B-level espionage spy thriller. But because of the foibles that I mentioned in this review, and because of some of the characters not getting the oomph that they needed in this story, the editing errors, and the lack of segue segments, I think it kicked it down a letter grade, down to about a C. So we're going to give it an average grade of a C. It's worth a view, but to be honest with you, you can probably wait a few weeks, month or two at the latest, until it comes on one of your streamers, and you could catch it then, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it just as much. I had the ability to see it in IMAX. IMAX always makes a movie interesting, but IMAX is not necessary for this film. And now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth